Ride at your own risk. Memorial Day marked the unofficial start of summer and the unofficial start of amusement park season. But do you really know just how safe those rides are? News 5 is always investigating and found the answer is probably no. In fact, News 5's Kevin Berry learned even state watchdogs aren't able to easily find out.
The best estimates say thousands of people get hurt in amusement parks across the nation every year. We found that the only people in Ohio reliably keeping track of those injuries are not going to tell you what they know. A summer night at Cedar Point in late June of 2015 was about to be over after one more ride for Theron Dannemiller.
I was kind of standing there and going to walk on, waiting for my friend,
when the safety gates on the Raptor roller coaster got in his way.
They started to shut on me.
Theron's leg got stuck.
I'm hurt, and I looked down and I could see the gash.
And in the fight to get himself free,
and it's like open. You can see inside my leg.
He says something sharp on the gate caused this.
It didn't heal for a year.
Now it's a nasty scar.
Most people are not aware that there's no tracking system for these injuries.
This is Tracy Meehan. She studies children's injuries at amusement parks across the country.
We were able to get a feel for what's happening, but it's just an estimate.
Little more than a best guess, because no one tracks many of the bumps, bruises, and even broken bones from amusement park rides. No one, at least, who's willing to share that information.
There are people keeping track of the incidents and the injuries, but it's the amusement parks themselves.
Jarrett Northup is a personal injury attorney. He says privately owned amusement parks hold all the cards.
It's probably data which the corporations feel could be used against them.
And they don't have to hand it out because the injury data belongs to the parks themselves. Cedar Point, for instance, has its own private police department and its own paramedics, so information about who they treat and what for isn't public.
Having that information readily available to the public would make it easier to hold the amusement parks accountable.
There is some park injury information that becomes public when it's reported to the state. The Ohio Department of Agriculture requires stationary amusement parks like Cedar Point or Kings Island to disclose an incident within 24 hours if it led to an overnight hospital stay. Even then, accountability is a challenge. Reports from the last 5 years documented many issues that had nothing to do with how the rides operate, like dizziness, elevated heart levels, and heart attacks. It also shows even the parks struggle to figure out if an incident needs to be reported because they lose track of the injured person after they go to the hospital.
If they go to the hospital and they don't report that it was an injury due to an amusement ride, we don't see any of that. So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
In 2013, there's one record of when the state saw the iceberg below the water. In that report, the Department of Agriculture fined Kings Island $500 for not reporting an injury in 2013 until months later. Kings Island told the state they didn't know the injury created a long hospital stay requiring a report until the person who got hurt contacted them months after it happened. The park eventually paid the fine, costing them less than the price of 12 daily admission tickets.
It's really difficult to tell how many of the injuries we're actually capturing.
So we looked for what the state isn't capturing. The private police departments and paramedics can't transport injured riders to the hospital, so they call local ambulances. Just in 2017, the Sandusky EMS call log shows 5 trips in 6 months to Cedar Point for injuries like a broken leg while getting on a ride, a dislocated knee from a water slide, and one child who fell off an inner tube and hit his head. None of those incidents created any report to the state. Cedar Point tells me, in part, safety is our top priority, and we fully comply with the reporting requirements set by state law, and there's no reason to doubt that for them or any other park. But Meehan says the state law's threshold to report an injury is too high.
Makes it impossible for us to see trends on a national level, which can be more challenging and make it difficult for us to keep people as safe as possible.
People who suffer broken bones or potential concussions, or even Theron.
Please, I'm in pain.
His injury did not trigger a report to the state. And in the chaos while his leg was bleeding,
I was so flustered.
The second ride Theron never got on was in the back of an ambulance.
One of their valets or something gave me a ride to the hospital.
We found the only way to make sure your concerns get to the state is to file a complaint directly with the Department of Agriculture. You can find a link to that form to fill out on the News 5 app. I'm Kevin Barry, News 5.